What was the dumbest thing you've ever been asked by a customer? Story 1. I used to work at the UPS store in high school. Our last pickup was at 7 o'clock, and we closed at 8 p.m. Since we had private information and people's personal mailboxes in the store, security was a big deal. It was 8:30. Our tills were counted down, the alarm was set, our copiers, fax machine, and computers were shut down, our lights were off, and we had closed and locked a ginormous red gate that separated the entrance from the rest of the store. Some woman ran up to the door, and like some demon in a horror movie, she hurled herself against the glass and screeched like a banshee. Keep in mind, we are very obviously closed with a sign saying we are closed, no lights on, and a giant red gate drawn down over the store. She began pounding on the glass and frantically yelling at us. My coworker worried something was wrong, like maybe she was being chased and needed help. He carefully opened the door just a crack to ask what was wrong. She immediately tried to wedge her hands and head in the crack and asked, "Are y'all open?" We informed her that we obviously weren't. Her logic was, "Well, you opened the door, so now you have to help me." She began wailing and crying that she had to mail a package. We explained that even if we were open, our last pickup was an hour and a half ago, and we couldn't even mail it until tomorrow. She protested, and we eventually got the door shut and locked. So we just stood there awkwardly in the dark, hoping she would leave. She kept pounding on the glass and saying, "I know you're open." As we debated what to do, and if we should call the cops, this lady pulled out her cell phone and called the cops herself. The cops arrived, we explained the situation, and the woman accused us of lying, despite the sign on the door saying we closed an hour ago at this point. Then, in front of the officer and on security camera, the woman launched herself at my coworker and hit him in the face. She immediately jumped back and began fake crying that he had assaulted her. We were dumbfounded. She ended up getting arrested and my coworker pressed charges. So the stupidest question I got was, "Are you open?" Story 2. I work in a security monitoring call center. A coworker called a customer to inform them of an AC loss for their security system. We usually just say, "Hey, your power is out," or something to that effect, but more professional sounding, obviously, because most of our customers don't know what AC means, and they get very confused. Well, this coworker said AC loss on the customer's voicemail for some ungodly reason despite knowing better. The customer returned the call a few hours later. I picked up. "Me. Can I help you?" Her, panicking, sounding on the verge of tears. "Oh, I hope so. I got a call that there's an AC loss at my house." Me. "Okay, I can..." Her. "I'm out of town and I was having trouble with my air conditioner before I left." Me, seeing where this is going, "Well, AC loss just means..." Her. "Does this mean there's no air in my house?" Story 3. I work in IT, and one day received a ticket from a customer very angry that a link on our website was broken. When I asked what the link was to or where it was trying to go, because our site has thousands of pages, they were incensed that I dared to ask them questions and wouldn't just fix it immediately. Sure, dude. I'll get right on checking the hundreds of thousands of links on our site and hope I find the one you clicked on in the next 3 minutes because you refuse to give me more information. Story 4. Used to work at a movie store in the early 2000s. This dude with a thick accent kept calling in every other few weeks or so, asking if we had this movie on DVD called Churro Man. I mean, this guy called a lot, and I told him that no such movie existed in our system, but he was adamant he'd seen it on a release schedule. Finally, a couple of months later, some guy walked up to me and asks me for the movie. I immediately recognize the voice and know who it is. After a few questions in person, I realized what the movie was all along. The whole time he'd been looking for True Romance, and it had indeed just come out on DVD. The accent threw me off. Turns out it wasn't a dumb question, and that I, in fact, was the dumb one. Story 5. Absolute dumbest thing I've ever heard from a customer. Obviously, this is pre-GPS. Worked at a convenience store that was the first gas station once you reached an island. This was at the end of I-40, so it wasn't too uncommon for people to miss a turn onto 17, realize they'd just crossed a bridge onto an island and stop for directions. First lady came in, asked directions to Island B, told her to go back across the bridge. "What bridge?" "The one you came across to get here." I didn't cross a bridge. Okay, so you came across by ferry. No, I didn't come on a ferry, and I didn't cross a bridge, and I'm not on an island. We sent her 10 miles to the end of the island to make her take the ferry that wouldn't start running for another 2 hours. It was the only answer she'd accept. Second one. Poor guy came in looking for 95 South, told him how to get to it, raised an eyebrow, asked him where he'd come from. He answered with a town an hour on the other side of 95. He'd missed his turn by 2 hours, and had to go tell his girlfriend S.O. in the car. You could hear her screaming through the car and store windows. Story 6. I thought it was the dumbest thing, but it turned out not to be. I was working at a department store, and this guy comes up to me and he shows me 2 of the exact same sweater. He's like, "Which one is burgundy?" They were both burgundy because they are the exact same sweater, and I'm like, what is this dude smoking? Or I thought I was being punked or something. And he sees me hesitating and he's like, which one is more wine red? So finally I just point at one and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, I'm colorblind and I can't really distinguish this range of color." Story 7. One of my very first jobs was a stocking associate for PetSmart. Had a customer one time ask me if we have any Blue Buffalo brand dog food that has no Pro-Van in it, as she doesn't want to change up her dog's diet because it hurts his stomach. I had absolutely no idea what she was talking about, so I offered to help her find the proper food. When we get to the aisle, she points out Blue Buffalo and says, "It seems like they changed the recipe because they all have Provan in it." On the bag, it actually said, "Proven Best Recipe." This idiot actually thought the word proven was an ingredient, lol. I explained that the recipe is the same and they just used new packaging, and it seemed to go in one ear out the other as she said she would go to another store to see if they carry the proper brand. Story 8. Many years ago, managing a pet store, a customer came in with an empty bottle of oral skin and coat supplement. He wanted a refund because it made his dog's coat really greasy. So as I start working on his refund, I ask a few questions, trying to find out why the product failed. I ask the standard questions: did you use too much? How often? Stuff like that. As we are conversing, it started to click that he didn't use this on his dog's food. He used it like a shampoo and rubbed it on his coat. So I nicely explained that it is oral skin and coat supplement, and it's intended to be put on the dog's food. He was embarrassed and apologized and started to leave, refusing the refund. I gave him a new bottle in exchange for the now empty one and told him to give it another shot. The guy was really nice and understanding about it. But come on, the instructions tell you how much to put on the food, and it's called oral skin and coat. Story 9. I used to work the front desk of 24-Hour Fitness making minimum wage, and a young woman was upset because I wouldn't let her heat up some food after her workout and then eat it in the staff break room. I was nice enough to store her food in the refrigerator for her when she brought it in before her workout. She actually walked into the break room and was like, "I'm going to use your microwave and eat this." I told her no, so she was like, "Well, can you heat this up for me?" I told her no again, and she just genuinely didn't understand why. Story 10. While working at Chase, a guy called and told me a story about selling a sink part for like $100. But the guy he sold it to gave him a cashier's check for $1,600 and told him to give him back $1,400, and he could keep $100 as a tip for doing him the favor. Obvious scam that happens a lot. He did it, and of course 3 days later the check bounced and the money was taken out of his account. He called mad as hell demanding we refund him for the money. I told him it was a scam and that he would have to speak with the man who gave it to him. He even kept me on the phone while he texted the guy, and the guy deadass sent him, "This is his wife. He died and I don't know what you're talking about." Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave your stories in the comments section. I'd love to make a video about them in the future. Make sure to like and subscribe too.